Again, good morning and welcome everyone. We are now at the third peer review of the Dialog project. And today is the turn of our friends from the Flanders. I will just take 1 minute to give you an update about the agenda you received. We will have a slight modification in it. It means that after the forward of Mr. Vervloet, we will skip the introduction by Mr. Gottardi because he was not able to attend today, and he sent his greetings, and the partners already received these letters with his wishes and wishing good prosecution in the project. I now leave the floor to Mr. Vervloet and to our Flanders friends. As always, rules of engagement, raise your hand if you have questions, be active, and let's make it good. And I leave the floor to Mr. Vervloet.
Thank you very much, Daniele, for your opening and to remind us of the kind words that Mattia Gottardi has sent to us all. Welcome, I would say, in Flanders. That would have been my normal introduction, but Corona really prevented us from receiving you in Flanders, and it was the idea of having this meeting in Gent, in my hometown. That was the idea, but unfortunately Corona decided upon a number of other things. But still, let me really tell you all that you're very welcome in this third peer review, and that we hope, as the other two has already been fruitful, that the third one will be fruitful as well. I think what we are expecting on a very full agenda for the next 3 to 4 hours is really quite some program. Okay, we skipped now the introduction of Mr. Gottardi, but still having the agenda on a digital way that goes up until 1 o'clock. That's 3 hours. With a bit of delay, that will be a bit more of 3 hours. That is a lot. I've done a few of these digital meetings that took this long, but that really is the maximum we can get and we can afford with our the way we deal here. I think the agenda speaks for itself. We're going to have you seen a number of things. I'll introduce you shortly our own program, our own social fund program, but same is with another program that we manage, which is the integration part of the AMIF program. There we do exactly the same, and with some Flemish budgets, we have the same, well, I dare to say, quite participative way of dealing with, but I'll come to that. And then we will show you some of the projects that we have on how they work. And I think, well, all three, Samenwerkingsverband Gent, Right to Score, and the social partners on the digital track, together with then afterwards the sustainable development goals and the short introduction that our German colleagues will do. I think you'll have some interesting proposals and some interesting presentations ahead of you. And we have some quite interesting people with us that really know what they are talking about, that have the experience, and that can give you the best of their, that will share the best of their knowledge with you. I'm going to close it here as well, because all these introductory things, I don't think that is really what you're looking for. We're looking for substance and sharing information. That's the idea, and let's use the time that we have available as good as we possibly can. I will unfortunately have to leave you around 10:45, because, well, yesterday the Commission published the budgets per member states available amongst cohesion policy. And you can imagine that at that moment, Cabinet wants to be informed on how much is there for us, what can we do with it, and how will this be able to translate it into the priorities that we've set for the future. And well, that's what I'll need to do as soon as possible from 11 o'clock onwards. But I'm sure that Caroline, which you all know a lot better than myself, that Caroline will be there, be master of ceremony, or Daniela will be master of ceremony. I don't know how the two colleagues have arranged these kind of things. I'll go for the ESF in Flanders, and well, not too much on the ESF itself, but on the way we try to deal with this thing. Some facts and figures, just to start with. Can I get the next slide, please? Thanks. Today we are part of the Department of Employment and Social Economy within the Ministry of the Flemish Community. The Flemish Community only has one ministry, but has 13 departments. Ladies or whoever, can I ask you to close your mics, to unmute yourself, because going together with 4 people, that's quite difficult. Okay? You can come in if you have any questions, no problem, and even interrupt me. I don't care if you interrupt me, that's not the issue, but the sounds were something else over there. Thank you very much. Well, as I said, there's only one ministry in Flanders that has 13 departments, and within it, that has 13 policy fields. Within a policy field, you have a department and you have agencies. We are now part of the Department of Employment within the policy field of employment and social economy in Flanders, and as such, we are the managing authority for the ESF program, and yes, we're the guarantee of the principle of collaboration and partnership, which is one of the principles that we have within our strategy. The mission of what we want to accomplish with our ESF program is not just to send in money. We are not manna falling from heaven, I always say. But we are there with the program that the mission is threefold. One is to strengthen the Flemish labor market policy. Strengthen it is not replacing it. So we are additional and complementary with the Flemish policy on employment and on, well, the whole labor market policy. So that's first, yes, with the biggest budgets, that's what we are there for. Secondly, we are there to update and innovate that policy. With the social fund and the matching fund, we are the only budget in Flanders that is available to do any innovative things when we have different structures or different ways of going with innovation. It has to be at the what we then call macro level, Flemish level, not at the micro level, organizational or enterprise level, but still you can adapt policies thoroughly. That is innovation through adaptation. But we created some room where we really can go for innovation through experimentation. Let's say you start with a nearly blank piece of paper and really start thinking out of the box to go these things. Innovative projects can never be dealt with by just one organization. They are always partnerships, because we don't believe in the fact that one organization knows it all, not even our public employment service. So it has to be, or our educational department. It has to be a partnership. It is from that partnership that the best things come. And then the third mission of the program is really to stimulate joint learning and collaboration through transnational collaboration. We strongly believe in the fact that we can learn from each other within Europe, and that we have to prevent people to well, come up with the same round wheel again, or create a structure on how to make a hot water again. That's something we already have. Looking over that age is something we should learn from and process amongst each other. We're a small part of a small country, Flanders is, so we only have a small budget. 394 million it is. We got now a bit of extra, and we will get some extra from the React EU, but we add some Flemish co-financing, 550, and then some private budgets, which makes that we will have, at the end of the program, probably a total cost. It was budgeted as a total cost of 1 billion. We will end up with 1.2, 1.3 billion worth of project, which means that we succeeded in making this kind of money a kind of a leverage as well, to get private money into this thing and into the social policy. Next slide, thank you. On the internal organization of Flanders, well, as I said, we're now integrated, but we started as an external agency of private law. I told you there were departments and agencies. There were internal agencies and external agencies, and we were one of the 8 external agencies of private law within this public organization of the Flemish ministry. It's a strange thing to explain, but this is the way we've been working for what, 15 years, from the early 2000, 2002 up until 2016. And 2016 we were integrated when there was a reorganization of the ministry. They wanted fewer agencies, and we were an agency in total of what, 50, 55 people. And we ourselves said, well, for the, if you look here at the number of administrative tasks, we're too small to stay on our own. It would be better if we were integrated in a bigger part and benefit from the major numbers. That would indeed be a better thing to drop our administrative costs and keep on with the people that really do the thing with the social fund. That's why we were one and we were integrated. Well, we were then integrated into this department. In the department, we have a secretary general. Sorry that this is in Flemish. Some general services will still remain. These are the administrative people. We have a division that deals with policy only, and then we have the inspection. We have social economy and workable work, although most of the workable work is in the European Social Fund and duurzaam ondernemen. We have then economical migration and regulation, and there is employment and competences. Within our own division, we have a small secretariat, and I have some program management. I have the program management and the staff there close to me, and 2 really operational divisions, or 2 operational services with us. In total, on the next slide, we have about 46 people. Managing authority, secretariat staff with the 2 operational units, learning at work, sustainable entrepreneurship and CSR, and working while learning. So one deals with whatever is unemployment, the other one deals with whatever is enterprises and people that have a job. Our workflow is really, well, quite detailed, set out in the quality handbooks with the procedures for the internal flows and the external flows as the European regulation demands from us. You can say once in a while it is too much administration, but on the other hand, it gives us a very good look at how to set up this management that we have. We start with the fact that we're a partner everywhere, but internally you're dealing with a lot of public funds. 1 billion is not nothing. So here we have to have some management, some risk management, and therefore these kind of things, the quality handbooks and procedures are good instruments to work with. But as I said, well, the program itself is, in the first place, it is the cooperative program. We have a partnership program with stakeholders and management of the program. We will never do something on our own. Whatever we will do this together with stakeholders. We are strong believers in Flanders in the fact that if you want to do something on the labor market, one, if you don't do it together with all your social partners, forget it. It won't work. Two, we have a strong civil society that deliver really services where our public services can't go and can't realize anything. So collaboration with civil society is very important for us. Three, there is as well the collaboration with enterprises. That is something that we prefer to get people at work and into the labor market. We have a number of priorities. Go quickly there. One is career management, where we set 40%. That is really a curative way of dealing. All that is there to do with getting people from unemployment, transition from unemployment to employment. Career management as a preventive issue, that is really from employment to employment, helping and starting from the point that, well, professions, jobs, contents of that, competences required are no longer changing every 30 years, not even every 10 years. But if we now look at it, it changes every 5 years. So you have to go quite quickly there, and we work there with and within enterprises for people, prepare them for transitions within the enterprise or to other enterprises or even other sectors. We have to keep people at the labor market, not at the factory. And not at the job itself. So there are quite some broader lines of jobs there, getting them into the labor market and keeping them there wherever. Then, of course, there is social inclusion and fight of poverty, which is quite large as well, because we still have quite some people that are not active at the labor market, and trying to find them, trying to motivate them to get on with their life and changing it, and then start a trajectory on the labor market where you have a pathway towards an integration is a way we deal with social inclusion and trying to get people out of poverty. I said trying because that is priority 3. Priority 1 and 2 are things where we have actions on short term. Priority 3 is really long-term activities. And then again, we do within enterprises, we say, hey, entrepreneurship with a human face, entrepreneurship focused on people. Mostly entrepreneurs focus their investment on capital. We say, well, investment in your other human capital is as important as something else, and that has everything to do with the way that passive activities, getting them active, making sure that people can get along their jobs with their private lives, things like that. And then, as you can see, quite some budgets are there for innovation and transnational interregional cooperation. Quite something that is near to our heart in the social fund in Flanders. Technical assistance is the remaining 4% to pay whatever we do, and to make sure that our partners, we want professional partners, so we are investing in our partners, in all of them, through quite some training that we set up, or to other forms of collaboration. Who can submit a project? Whenever we launch a call, who can submit? Well, there's a broad line for public bodies and private bodies, private organizations, public organizations. We do not accept projects from individuals, from natural persons, as I say. And why are we having here social partners separately? Because in Flanders, in Belgium, the trade unions don't have a legal status. And normally they would fall aside. They're not public, they're not private, private legal status. So we say here, okay, an exception is made for the social partners. But they now started on having their own on having their own organizations, and that's where we can work with them. Who are our final beneficiaries? Well, actually, you could say society. Young people, vulnerable people, long-term unemployed, people not active at the labor market, employees, entrepreneurs. We did not say here people with a migrant background or not. Those are for us young, vulnerable, long-term, whatever. We started this program on defining our beneficiaries from the point of view of competences, not from the point of view of where they come from. That should not be an issue, although we have to agree unfortunately today is still an issue. So tomorrow we will change this thing a bit. Now, how do we manage things? Very briefly, we have a monitoring committee that monitors together with us the ongoing ways of the program that meets 2 or 3 times a year. Who's on the monitoring committee? Well, we have, of course, the Commission, but they're only there with an advisory vote, unfortunately. We have all the competent ministers, not mistaken, 4 or 5, employment, social economy, education, well-being, sports. Well, you have the Minister for Foreign Affairs, those kind of things. But we also have the different administrations, the different departments. And then we have all the social partners. We have the NGOs. We have the local authority represented. And then myself as managing authority, all members of the monitoring committee have the same vote. We work by consensus. So the vote of the representative of the NGOs is as important as the vote of my minister. Working by consensus does not mean that everybody really has to formally and fully agree. Consensus means that you can say, well, not feeling happy with something, but I'll accept it in order. It's not a principal matter for me. But if it's a principal matter, every vote is there to block the whole process, which, yes, takes a bit of time, but it gives you a program that is really supported by all stakeholders, and that is really the thing that we need, some cooperation by all partners in the game. We have a management committee that does the day-by-day management. Again, everybody is represented in there who wanted to be there, who's not there, that's the Commission, and we work there with consensus as well. But because of the rules of the Commission, they can only have an advisory role. Afterwards, I have to take the decisions. But we have the culture in Flanders of following those advices. We have a committee of appeal to which individual project promoters can really say, well, I disagree with the decisions that the agency took. And then independently from the others, we have external people that make a decision over that project. And then, of course, we have the evaluation committee that really follows up the external evaluations. Or the internal evaluation, but evaluations of the program. That's what they do there. Commission is there represented as well. How do we cooperate with stakeholders? Well, it is for us the basic principle, and a partnership can only work if there is trust. Now, trust can only be obtained if you work in a transparent way, if you have a good and open communication, and if you have the guts of being vulnerable, which means that We don't know everything. On the contrary, we're not the experts on every issue, but we are facilitators. That's the way we see our role. We deliver them a platform on which stakeholders can come in preparing the operational program, but as well in preparing afterwards the calls. We have to check with them whether the calls are realistic, whether the financial rules are feasible, these kind of things, which means that when there's an idea of a call, we will always check with other partners, how they feel about it, and listen to them. And if we have the time, we even put up our calls a fortnight on the internet so that everybody can shoot at it and say, well, we want this or that. To work with local authorities, for instance, we set up a framework and then check with all of the local authorities and the major cities, Ghent and Antwerp, on what would be the specificities in their city. So that they can we can really be a partner in the way they deal with their policy in their city. That's what we do with social partners as well on labor market issue. As I said, in Flanders, no labor market policy without our social partners. And then, well, we organize captain tables, we organize all kinds of ways in listening to our final beneficiaries and getting to visit them as well. Whereas here, ESF stopped off, ESF gets out, you could say. This means that my whole division is split up in groups of 3 and 4 people, and every group visits 2 or 3 projects. And not only projects we accepted, we visit promoters, final beneficiaries, whose projects were rejected as well, so that we can listen to them. How do they see the social fund? What could be improvements that they would like to see? This is really being vulnerable and being able to listen and then to adapt yourself. You have to evaluate the way you work in a partnership every year. And every year you have to listen to them all and see what you can improve, because, well, all things in life can always be better, as we say. And that's a rule that we love to try to take on board. When we prepare calls, there is really all the technicians and all the specialists that might be in other departments, or even within, as I said, in local authorities, or with social partners, or with universities. We then check, is this feasible on financial side, of course, on content side, and because that's for us, we have a very result-based program. Are the results that we set up front, are they realistic and achievable? And that way we can work. And we're a partnership, we're a partner in every project. It means that we set up networking events around calls and around projects that are ongoing, so that we offer them a platform where they can learn from each other and where we can learn from them. As I said, we're not the specialists, on the contrary. We can always learn from each other. We do train our final beneficiaries. If we want them to be project managers, then we offer them training on project management. Why not? That's what technical assistance is there for. It really is there to try to support each other and to learn from each other. Again, we will take them with us on the transnational cooperation issues where we are dealing with as well. We, of course, have a partnership with our authorities as well. As you might know, next slide, please. We have the coordination with the certifying authority and with the audit authority. And well, all 2 others, all 3 authorities for us are at the same line. And it is very important that we meet, that we listen to each other, and that we consider ourselves partners in crime, meaning colleagues, and that and none of them is the other side of the table. We are running up front in applying simplified cost options and simplifying financial management of the projects in Europe. Well, this was only possible because of our very close collaboration with our audit authority, where in some other member states, the audit authority has difficulties in cooperating there. Well, we will never send out a call without having checked with the audit authority whether our financial rules are feasible and are compliant with the regulation, so that we really are partners there. With our certifying authority, we have not only weekly contacts, but even in the past it was on a daily basis, and well, it still is on a daily basis. It will be again in the future. The moment is a bit difficult because she's on maternity leave. But we took then over her job inside the managing authority. We took over her job so that when she comes back, we can hand it over again. And she makes up trimestral reports, which help us in keeping up our applications fully and correctly. That's basic knowledge for a good financial management there. With our audit authority, really, we have quite a lot of contact. If there is a problem that arises, we meet. We just make sure that we have a meeting and then that we sit together. We both are based in Brussels, and at least a few days a week before the closing of accounts every year, so that we can really see where we have differences of opinion in order to come close to each other. And then being able have a hard discussion as long as the door is closed, but once the door is open, we go for a beer together because we then have an agreement and we will all defend the agreement. In that way, we leave that room in a way that we all were right. There's no winner and there's no loser in those discussions. There's only, let's make sure that we do the best thing we can for Flanders. And we have, I really dare to say, one of the most perfect relations with our audit authority. Another country, for instance, that has a very good relationship there is Sweden, where we learned quite a lot from them. We have 3 meetings a year at least with 3 authorities on whatever team comes up. And if needed, we will have other meetings separately amongst each other. So yes, again, there's a partnership there as well. I didn't speak to you about the partnership with the Commission, because with the Commission, well, we have the advantage that they're Brussels based. We have quite some good informal and formal relations. We will never, ever send in something immediately formally to the Commission. We will first try to seek contact and try to find a solution on the informal way before we formalize a number of issues. I can imagine that you have some questions, so shoot, I would say. I don't see any hands. Can imagine that afterwards questions come, but Caroline remains with you, and while we are now, well, I think we know each other more than 20, 25 years now, where we collaborate together. She knows the business as well as I do, so you've got a very good partner there who remains with you. You can ask her all the questions that you might have now and then. I don't know who's master of ceremony. Is it Daniele or is it Caroline thing over to go and give over the floor then to the master of ceremony, who will give it over to somebody else. Thank you very much, and sorry for not being able to keep up with you for the rest of the meeting, but I'm sure we will make it up once Corona is gone. We will make it up in a physical way, which still is the only way where real contact can be, I think. Thank you very much. Enjoy the day. And afterwards, enjoy the weekend. We have nice weather promised, and we will enjoy it. A kind of a, well, Indian summer is coming up for us. Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. I will just have a short intervention here, and then I'll leave the floor to Caroline to manage the today's agenda. I think that with this first forward and introduction to ESF Flanders, we can appoint some keywords about how ESF and social dialogue are going hand in hand. First of all, I like the word consensus, then trust, cooperation, coordination, and these led ESF to have an institutionalization of what is social dialogue in order to produce good results in the operative programs they produce and in the project they are developing hand in hand with public, private, and social bodies, of course. After this, I'll leave Caroline to introduce our next guest or to give some further information about ESF. And the floor is yours.
Well, okay, thank you, Daniele. So I think that Louis has been very thorough in what he has said. So, and if there are no further questions, and knowing that we have a very full agenda, I think it's maybe good that we start with the good practice. I think that most people are waiting for or want to listen to them. And I hope that we have like a good spread of projects that we want to present to you. And I would now like to give the floor to, which is a very good example of how partnership should be, because it's also called Gent Stad in Werking, which means that Ghent is a city that's working together. And Myriam Carler, who has very much experience in all kinds of projects on the labor market, is going to present this project against City at Work. So Myriam, you've got the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Myriam Carler. I'm the coordinator of the partnership Ghent City at Work. And our baseline is together for more and better jobs in Ghent. Before introducing the open partnership, I would like to give the word to Mr. Bram van Brakenveld. He's the Ghent Deputy Major of Work and Social Economy.
Ik hoop dat dat nu gaat lukken, natuurlijk.
De muziek is er niet bij.
The sound?
Oei. Dat is al een probleem, natuurlijk.
Yeah, there's a little problem with the sound.
Een keer proberen. Nu dat lukt.
Nee, want de muziek is er niet.
Het is met onderschriften slechts.
Ja, nu wel, maar soms...
Ja. Dat is een probleem, hè. Ik kan nog een keer proberen. Muten en dat is het.
Ja, we zijn...
Gent is een fantastische stad om te werken en te wonen. Gent is een havenstad, een studentenstad, maar ook een stad met veel uitdagingen. En op die uitdagingen gaan we samen antwoorden. Arbeidsmarkt, Sorry.
Sorry. Ghent City at Work is an open partnership for more and better jobs. It is not a project as the other good practices which are presented here. The partnerships exist since 1998 and is an established value in the employment policy of the city. The partners are public and private actors who have a link with employment in Ghent from a broad sphere of action, including education, vocational training, mediation, welfare and work. The City of Ghent finances the partnership activities by means of operating funds and deployment of human resources provided by the work department, like myself. Ghent City at Work operates at two different levels. At first, by means of the policy group and by activities and projects initiated by the policy group, the partnership strengthens the employment policy of Ghent. Ghent City at Work is a model because of its innovative approach towards employment teams. The partnership cooperates with partners who commit themselves to elaborate a common strategy and set up initiatives. These initiatives are often complementary to the general employment policy of the city. People who work in the field every day can pass on their expertise directly to policymakers, and policymakers can consult these experts to check their plans and to help fill in any blind spots. In addition to the policy and actions, the community that Ghent City at Work creates is also very important. At every level, management level, staff and coaches, there are a lot of connections between the different organizations in the domain of work in Ghent. Ghent City at Work offers an answer to the need to develop a clear overall narrative. The different stakeholders can identify with this overall story, and Ghent City at Work also makes it possible to propagate ongoing experiments under the same common umbrella. The activities, a partner day each year, New Year's reception, training sessions, a project fair, etc. All those activities ensure that the various partners also know each other very well, even in a more informal context. As a result, employees of the various partner organizations can just quickly pick up the phone to consult each other, or they can discuss matters at a network event or after a meeting. These informal contacts are sorely missed in these Corona times, be sure of that. Exchange of information is also an important aspect of the community, of the community function of Ghent City at Work. Projects of individual partners can be inspiring for others. The partnership provides a forum to exchange good and not so good practices. We have a website, but more important are the newsletters on a regular basis from and for the partners. In these newsletters, they can present new projects, good practices, but also innovative trainings, exhibitions, etc. Of course, they also announce events and more informal meetings. Now and then we have special editions about a particular theme. This week, for example, we sent out a special edition on digital literacy, containing all initiatives in Ghent that aim to increase the digital skills of job seekers and employees. Before I elaborate on the workings and achievements of the partnership, I gladly give the floor to two members of the policy group. Peter is the General Manager of FormDC, the Formation Fund for Household Helps, and Thierry is Managing Director of Sintra Midden-Vlaanderen, a vocational training school. We try again.
Waarom Gent een uniek partnerschap is in zaken arbeidsmarktregie is het feit dat alle organisaties, ongeacht hun gezindheid of een afkomst, hier met één doel zijn. Dat is voor de Gentenaars ervoor zorgen dat ze werk vinden en werk kunnen houden. En dat is het unieke aan heel dit partnerschap, dat ongeacht van welke organisatie we ook komen, we één doel voor ogen houden: werk en arbeidsmarkt in Gent.
Gent, Stad in Werking, verenigt mensen en organisaties. En in feite is dit wat mij boeit in dit project. Want in de loop van de jaren hebben we via Gent, Stad in Werking heel wat kunnen doen voor zwakkeren en andere mensen die een stukje ondersteuning kunnen gebruiken. Wat het mooie is aan het samenwerkingsverband, dat de actoren vanuit diverse invalshoeken betrokken worden en samen sterker staan dan dat ze de zaken alleen zouden aanpakken.
Okay, sorry. The cooperation model of Ghent City at Work was the root of various major initiatives in the Ghent sphere of action. This can be explained by its unique approach, which is founded on a series of guiding principles. The basis is an open partnership, open to all relevant action, in which actors inside and outside the sphere of action participate in the elaboration and implementation of the local employment policy. The open partnership approach transcends the day-to-day functioning of individual organizations and actors. Gaps in the local job market are jointly detected and opportunities are included. The engagement of many organizations to jointly tackle tricky employment market themes is of critical importance for its success. Engagement and involvement are keywords. Involvement of the city, that stands open to input from partners. Involvement of the members of the policy group. Based on their expertise, they think along and transcend the interests of their own organization. Input of the work field, both for the content of the events and actions, as well as for the communication channels, such as the newsletters. And above all, mutual trust. The quality of the activated process has been high since the beginning, but it has gone through quite an evolution. Regular evaluations and adjustments were made. Initially, the policy group determined the vision, policy objectives and the agenda. The policy group, Ghent City at Work, deepens the policy objectives and reunites organizations and hands-on experts in action groups to develop actions. The action groups were using a bottom-up approach to develop actions and in view of operational activities. Appreciating ideas of other parties and gathering the contribution of various expertise results in innovative projects. The project Digital Works is an example of such an approach, and I will come back to that. In 2019, the City of Ghent, VDAB and the social partners signed an employment pact for Ghent about the policy objectives. The role of the policy group of Ghent City at Work was therefore questioned. The assets of the partnership were clearly formulated. Ghent City at Work is a partnership with a long tradition, a strong brand, but is now primarily a strong community where partners find each other in realizing projects at both policy and field level. The new task of the policy group was the operationalization of the strategy of the Employment Pact, the initiation and monitoring of actions, and the provision of policy advice, among others, identifying bottlenecks to the steering group of the Employment Pact. In addition, the broad partnership, what we call the community of Ghent City at Work, further strengthened by realizing action and projects in the field, and by targeted communication about initiatives and exchange of good practices. I will now tell something about the long-term achievements from who started in the beginning. Ghent City at Work had realized many innovative projects over the year which still exist today. For example, het Beroepenhuis, House of Professions, informs 10 to 12 years old in a playful way about different professions so that they can choose more carefully what to study. Another example is Maxmobil. The vans of Maxmobil make it possible for shift workers to arrive at work on times, at places who are not easy to reach. The Punt, another realization, was established as an incubation center for the social economy with a focus on local job creation. WOW, Wijs aan het Werk, WOW, enables students from the third grade of secondary schools in Ghent to become more familiar with the labor market. But what is important to notice that these results were started within the framework of Ghent City at Work as a project, from a need that the partners indicated and realized through the cooperation of various organizations from the broad partnership of Ghent City at Work. I will give two examples of projects who are now running. And I start with the digital work project, where Ghent City at Work is putting extra effort into supporting job seekers who have difficulties in using digital tools. And this one started as an action group with employees from various partner organizations from the broad network of Ghent. These action group mapped out the barriers to employment and developed a vision on accessible employment mediation. Finally, a project proposal was drawn up and approved by the policy group. In the project, we tried to lower the thresholds to work via 3 tracks. First track is providing digital skills training for job seekers. The second track is providing training for job intermediaries, because they are the key persons in this project. How can a job intermediaries support their clients in developing digital skills, and what digital skills or resources do they need to do their job properly? And a third track is an ICT steward who offers active help to job seekers. In COVID-19 times, this project has proven to be very important. The project has therefore been broadened and extended till the end of 22. Another result, but it's rather a result of the community rather than a result of really a project from Ghent City at Work, is the Jobteam Gent, an ESF project in the call, outreach and activation. In this project, a team of 20 mobile employment counsellors and 10 support service counsellors want to reach 1,200 to 1,500 vulnerable people in Ghent and guide 920 of them in a pathway to work. The Jobteam Gent is a collaboration of the City of Ghent with 10 Ghent civil society organizations who are members of the broad network of Ghent City at Work. The project builds on several separate projects and now combines the expertise of different partners in a team that also physically works together in one location. So those 20 persons are from different organizations where they are sitting together, and that makes that one clear front door to work is a very big advantage for our target groups. And sometimes there's so much on offer that one cannot longer see the forest for the trees. So the fact that all those people are sitting at one place, that the people can come to one place, is very important. That much good cooperation and trust does not just happen by itself. It is also the result of good networking and sufficient moments to catch up with each other. That's the essence of Ghent City at Work. And to end, I will show you the short video that was made on the occasion of 20 years of Ghent City at Work in 2018. Thank you in advance for your attention.
Je vindt ons overal in Gent. Hier zorgen we voor meer mobiliteit. zodat Jan vlot op zijn werk raakt. Daar bieden we broodnodige begeleiding, zodat Serena haar weg naar een job vindt. Hier geven we advies op maat, zodat Karim weet wat zijn mogelijkheden zijn. En daar organiseren we opleidingen, zodat Marie de skills leert die ze nodig heeft. We brengen overal mensen samen en maken innovatieve ideeën waar. We lanceren gerichte acties waar nodig en bundelen alle mogelijke krachten. Dag na dag werken we aan meer en beter werk voor elke Gentenaar. En we doen dat samen. Wij zijn Gent Stad in Werking. Uniek in Vlaanderen sinds 1998. Wij zijn een open partnerschap waar iedereen aan meewerkt. Van starter tot gevestigde waarde. Van overheid tot VZW. Van onderwijsinstelling tot werkgever. Samen vinden we oplossingen voor de uitdagingen van vandaag en morgen. En bouwen we een netwerk van gelijkgestemden om samen aan de slag te gaan. Want dat maakt het verschil. Hebben we jou ook geïnspireerd? Word nu partner.
Okay, so thank you, Myriam. But before we have the discussion, you were a little bit too quick, Tim. I want to ask Zakayo Wandoloh to present his project as well, because it's also situated in Ghent. And it's a kind of, but correct me if I'm wrong, Zakayo, it's a kind of pop-up where a lot of initiatives are going to work together. It's very new, I think. It's the project you are presenting is Right to Score. But Zakayo, you've got the floor.
Well, I will need to share my screen with you.
Yes.
Can you see my screen? Hello?
Yes, we do.
We can see your screen, Zakayo. I hope the others as well. Yeah.
Because I cannot see you anymore, so I'm just flying blind. Thank you so much, Caroline, for the introduction. My name is Zakayo Wandoloh. I am one of the co-founders of Right to Score. Like Caroline said, we are situated in Ghent, in a neighborhood called Broekse Poort, Roegem. And well, I'll just go through my presentation, and at the end, if you have any questions, kindly just shoot, and then I'll answer them. Let me start with this. All right. Okay, so our vision and mission, as you can see, there is actually to utilize sports, physical activities, and play opportunities as a means of ensuring that the people who most need it have a right to score in life as well as on the pitch. And we do this because we are mainly situated in, like I say, the Broekse Poort area is confronted with high poverty levels, minority groups. So they are mostly challenged in so many ways. So we try to make our initiative, our foundation, as accessible to them as possible. Of course, sports, physical activity, play, that's all important. But on the other hand, we try to do something to give them a positive perspective in life. That's what we mean by scoring, not only on the pitch, but also in life. Now, among others, our goals are, like I say, to eliminate sports and physical activity participation barriers, because the opportunities that are there, in most cases, there are barriers. For example, you have to pay. They have specific hours where you have to be there. If you are not there 2 or 3 times, you are sanctioned. So all these things make it difficult for our target group to take part in them. We also intend to build an inclusive community. What we mean by that is especially at-risk target groups, mostly because they are afraid, or they cannot afford, or they don't dare to be in spaces, in open spaces where everyone else is. They tend to stay indoors, so they are secluded from the happening within the community. So Right to Score is a place where they can come and be themselves without having to care about their socio-economical background. Of course, we intend to have a social impact, not only get them fit and healthy, but also help them build a network, learn like teamwork, communication, all those small competences that you need in order to function in a society. What we also do, and that is something we put a lot of emphasis on, is in an alternative way, in a non-formal setting, offer learning opportunities in order to activate the youth, especially the 17 plus years, in relation to employment, because like I say, it's a highly challenged neighborhood. We have a lot of youth unemployment, a lot of school dropouts. So we have a lot of NEET youth, and we try to work with them towards employment, because in normal employment trajectories, they mostly fall out again. Now, we are a social impact organization, but we also try to build a use case that can be replicable in other cities as well. So after a year or two, we intend to upscale and try the same concept, implement the same concept in other cities. So employability, because that is something that we, one of the social aspects of our working that we really think is important. As I say, we run a social sports complex. So sports is actually just a means of getting the youth to come to us, because mostly they have nowhere else to engage in sports and physical activities. Sports is something that brings people together. Sports is a very powerful tool, and that is actually what we utilize. So we engage our target group in running the complex on all aspects. So opening, scheduling the opening hours, being there to open, cleaning up, and receiving the participants who come, the young kids who come to play there, or the other organizations that just come by to, know one or two things about Right to Score. So how do they interact with the clients, customer service, for example, accounting, general administrative tasks, because we also have to report not only to the city, but also to the other users of the complex where we are situated. We also involve them in how we are intending to build a success case that we can replicate in other cities. Also in organizing activities and events. So we try to involve them in all these aspects. Why? Because, like I say, most of them school dropouts, they don't have certificates. So for them, they're never going to get jobs based on their certification or their qualifications. So mostly it's just labor, and what they need are just the attitudes, labor-related attitudes, that they can be there on time, they can be able to deal with the instructions, they can respect authority, they can do their tasks as they have been instructed. So those are the things, those are the skills that we mainly try to build while engaging them in all these aspects. Now, they're not just doing that by themselves. They are coached, they are trained, they are advised, they are mentored by our friends, people who volunteer at Right to Score, who are specialized in those different areas. Of course, ourselves in our team, all of us highly educated, we are all working, we have vast experience in social youth work and all those areas. So we also try to impart this knowledge to them. Now, we will also work closely with civil society and organizations in the neighborhood and in the city of Ghent. But on the other side, we also work with companies who we hope will give our youngsters, once we have given them the kind of training they need, could give them opportunities for internship and eventually also employment opportunities. To that end, we have an agreement with several companies, for example, Volvo Ghent and the post services of the Post in Flanders, it's called the Post, who are willing to take some of our guys and give them employment opportunities. Of course, schools, because we have several schools in our neighborhood, we go there, we try to engage them. They also, sometimes they come and carry out their activities in our location. So we try to do all this in a non-formal setting where they're having fun at the same time, but at the same time, they're learning. We have 7 tenets that are our guiding, that's our compass. So based on this, we do all the rest. Everything we do are based on these 7 tenets. So we work exclusively outreaching. We don't wait for our target group to come to us because we know out of experience, it is already a barrier to get there by themselves. So we go to them, we go to schools, we go to the streets, we go to their homes, we go to the public spaces where they are mostly hanging out. We get to know them, we introduce ourselves, we tell them about our organization. And sometimes when the weather is good, we organize activities outside so that they get to know us and eventually they come to us. Like I say, everything we do is free of charge. So that financial aspect, which is a barrier, we eliminate that completely. At the core of our working is inclusion, co-creation, and active participation. So we are not like the experts. We are not like the ones who tell them what to do. We also ask them what they want to do. And when they are up for it, we let them just organize for them because we believe that's also a learning process for them. So sports is not a goal for us. So we are not really competitive aspect of sports. Of course, youngsters, give them a ball and they get competitive automatically, but that's not our goal. It's just a tool, like I say, to bring them together, to let them interact with each other. Co-creation, co-ownership, co-management, it's an open space. Like I say, we are trying to build an inclusive community. We are all equal and we try to emphasize on that. And also we organize inspirational excursions to companies in Ghent because transportation is sometimes a challenge, so that they can also see the different kinds of jobs or possibilities that they could strive to achieve. Of course, employment activation, mentoring and coaching, like I say, is one of the things that we put extra emphasis on. And of course, those youths who have made progress, we include them in the organization as role models, those ones who can prophesy on the others and tell them like, listen, I have worked hard, and of course it pays off to work hard and be disciplined and believe in yourself. Right to score, like I say, it has been a struggle to go operational. So we started in 2018, where the city of Ghent launched a call for organizations to start initiatives in a complex that was a factory for furniture, but they went bankrupt. And so it has been empty for years. So drug abusers started going there. It was run down. and it became unsafe for the neighborhood. So the neighborhood complained to the city of Ghent, and they decided either they were going to give it to a private developer, but the the people of the neighborhood refused. So they decided to give it a social destination. That's when they launched the call, we applied, and we were, at the end of 2018, we were allowed to use the place. There are a total of 23 organizations in that complex. Now, the problem we had initially was the high capital that we needed to transform the empty space into a safe sports complex. We had talked to a lot of sponsors who had agreed they would sponsor us, but when push came to shove, a lot of them actually didn't go ahead and sponsor us. So we started looking for other means of financing the operational aspect of Right to Score. Only the whole of 2019 was a struggle. Actually, it was a lost year. We only started renovating in November 2019. In December, we were halfway. I think in February, that's when we started laying the artificial turf. Now, as you can see, the photo on the left-hand side, that is how it was. Actually, this is after we had cleaned it. It was very dirty. It was dirtier than this. So we cleaned it. It's just open space. And as you can see, we were involving our target group already at that point. They were coming 1 hour a day in the weekends, Wednesday afternoons, just to help out, clean it, remove those protruding stuff and stuff like that. As you can see, we weren't even finished. We had only the cage, and they were already playing there. That was not safe, but because the need for physical activity and the lack of a place to do the same made them just decide, you know what, we are going to just play. As you can see, they're having fun. And after every activity, we have a place that was just a makeshift spot where they could sit, have a chat, and just get to know each other. That was the beginning of laying the artificial turf. Again, all this we did with the youth from the neighborhood. It was just finished and already we were having activities, so the demand was really high. Those are one of the activities. This one here, Desmond is a UEFA A trainer, and he's one of the co-founders of Right to Score. And now we have a deal with him that he gives training to the youth 3 times a week, and we gave him something small for that. We have our first, that was a milestone for us. That was the first sponsor. Of course, they're just giving the uniform, not money, but we appreciate it so much. And now we also have a partnership with an organization in Ghent called inbtroduced. They had a problem with allocation. So where they were, they had to move. And because we had so much space and we were having difficulties in filling that space with sports facilities, we decided to partner with them. And right now, this is what the place looks like. I'll just give you a short preview. So we have
in the red corner. Zeg nog zwaar op je bakkers gaan eigenlijk. Dat is goed. En je neus dan nog in. Ben je nog gekend en
dat is ook zwaar overrated, hè?
Okay, so as you can see, we have a box and Thai box kickboxing ring. We have an MMA ring, and we also have a space for fitness. Now we combine fitness and CrossFit because those are the things that the youth mostly are asking for. Now, the challenges we are still facing, of course, the financial aspect, that is still a major challenge. Like you see, the floor is not very safe. We need to have a rubber flooring, which costs a lot of money. We need to make the showers. We don't have a shower. We don't we're changing locker rooms for them to dress up. But on the other hand, the mismatch between what we are intending to do and the people we have to do it is a problem. Right now, we are just working with volunteers, but there's a lot of work. So actually, we would be better off with 1 or 2 full-time employees to be able to realize all our goals. We have not done any promotion apart from just going outside and talking to the youth, but the demand is so huge. At the moment, we only have 3 sessions a week, on Wednesday in the afternoon, Saturday and Sunday. But the demand we have we would need to have at least 6 or 7 sessions a week. Like I say, we cannot do that with volunteers. We also have a challenge in attracting or reaching girls and young women, but that's something we are working with another organization that works with young girls, and we are going to integrate them in our working. We also try to include the parents, but like I say, they're all socio-economically challenged, so getting involved for them is a high threshold, but it's something we try to do. The team is comprised of Maud, who is responsible for gender and diversity, but also a community manager, Damir, a co-founder and a football trainer, Desmond, as I said, the UFA trainer, Duncan, the business development. Like we say, we would like to have a blueprint that we can implement in other cities. But on top of that, we are already looking into how we could incorporate a commercial aspect to the initiative, so that at least we are not fully dependent on sponsorship and grants, but that we can also sustain some of our own expenses. Lode is the network development officer, and myself, diversity and inclusion, as well as the community manager. And we have Samir, the founder of Negedust, and community manager also in the Meibloem City. That's it. Thank you very much for your attention. And now I would take the questions from you.
Okay, thank you, Zakayo. As you can see, in the city of Ghent, a lot of things are happening.
Yes.
They are quite active. And also so innovative things, because such a pop-up is also quite innovative. But maybe there are some questions from from the people here. Yes.
Yes. Hello from Spain. The project that we have heard is very interesting for us. We expect that will continue in the future, but we want to ask about the situation, the current situation faced to COVID, in which how can you face this situation in this project? Have you some plan, some action plan to adapt the activity to the pandemic, to face the pandemic situation?
Yes. Yes, like like in my presentation, I said 2019, we wanted to go operational in May 2019, but everything went wrong. By the end of 2019, we were not operational. So only in February, we went operational. And in March, we had a lockdown. So we had to actually come up with a plan in order to carry on with our activities despite the lockdown. So what we did is we were having outdoor activities because then in that period, it was still allowed to have outdoor activities. So we did, we went for walks, we went for jogs, we did outside activities in the open spaces. And that's how we kept involving the youth in our activities. Right now, we are allowed to have indoor activities, but of course, knowing what happened during the lockdown, we already have activities that are also outdoors. So that's our way of coping with the situation. Of course, we are also communicating with the parents, because that's a very important aspect of our working. Our target groups, especially the under 14, mostly they have permission from their parents. And every parent is concerned about the safety of their children. So we communicate with them quite openly, transparently, and we tell them about the precautions we take in order to be corona proof, as we say it in Flemish. So those are the things we do. And of course, the other partners in the complex as well. We have a management organ, and we sit down every month to discuss on the safety measures that we can take, not only as an organization, but for the whole complex. So, and of course, we are also following and taking into account the advice that is given by the City of Ghent, who are they are communicating, they are very proactive, and they are helping us on how to organize activities in a safe way. So that's our approach to containing the situation. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes.
Maybe Myriam also wants to add something.
Just to say how we cope with COVID and Corona. Our partner day is on the 13th of October, and we will have the keynote. What's normally we start with the speeches of the deputy majors, and with the keynote speaker. And then afterwards we have little workshops in groups. But now what we will do is have the keynote by live stream, live size we have in the city of Ghent. And then afterwards we will have little meetings in open air around in the city for maximum 10 persons around speaking about some teams who are now very highlighted, like digital things and how to meet, but also how to reach your clients who have not the digital tools to have them. So we have especially some teams where we will go so that we still have a meeting face to face, who is very important for us. So I just wonder for Zakayo, maybe we can go to there for with a little group. So for you, it's good for networking, and for us, it's also good to have knowing your project more. So I will contact you afterwards.
You are more than welcome.
So this is partnership also in Flanders.
Yes, you're more than welcome. We have a lot of space, and of course, the good thing is you are not only going to see Right to Score, but also have an opportunity to see all the other organizations and see how we partner all together, different activities, different initiatives, but all for the neighborhood. Because that is the only condition that City of Ghent gave us. Everything we do has to be beneficial to the neighborhood. You're more than welcome.
And there's some other questions?
Yes. I would like to have some further information about how the social dialogue has been developed among the partners and the operators in these two case studies. For example, in the case study of the Ghent study in werking, you mentioned the cooperation model of Ghent, and maybe you could just highlight some points how the confrontation, the dialogue has been set up with the municipality, with the organization, and the same with the right to score, how you met the priorities in terms of youth policies of the municipality, and what was the base analysis of need and from both parties.
Should I start?
Yeah, you can, Zakayo.
Okay. Well, if I get your question right, how we initiated the dialogue with the social partners. Yeah, that's all. So after the call, obviously more than 40 organizations applied. Yeah, the City of Ghent has a department within the city called So Ghent, and they have one person who was leading the project. So he coordinated with his team, they coordinated communication amongst all the 40 organizations that applied. After that, they made a selection because there was only room for 23 organizations. They made a selection based on relevance to the neighborhood, to the community. And after that, we formed a board of directors made up of the organizations. So every organization has a representative in that board. And that's how we started initiating, like, okay, how can we incorporate the individual organization goals, right to score, for example, with the whole meuble fabrique, as we call it, that's the complex. How can we put this together? So that's one. Of course, the criteria in order to be chosen for the, to be among the 23 was that you have to have a relevance for youth, social, economic inclusion, and all those. So the city had some criteria and we fulfilled all that. How is that measured? Of course, it is based, the measurement is done based on the activities that we organize. It is measured based on the target groups that we reach and the affinity with the neighborhood. Are we reaching youths or target groups from the neighborhood or not? So those are the criteria that I use to evaluate us. We have not had an official evaluation yet with the City of Ghent, but we have our own internal evaluation. We are very strict with each other in a very positive way, just so that we all reach our targets. Yeah. I don't know if I have answered your question.
And Myriam, do you also want to add something?
Yes. So with us, social dialogue is in the first place, it's from the policy group, who has 25 members of organizations that are the local authority, the city is represented there with education, work, and OCMW, I don't know, welfare. We have the province who is there, VDRB,
the public employment
service. Then we have the social partners, the trade unions and the employers organizations. Then we have also forming sponsor of
Vocational training.
sectoral training
Sectoral training organizations.
Yes. Then we have the private actors, or you have education institutions. You have the intermediaries, the mediation, the vocational trainers organizations. It's a whole complex of 25 organizations who are represented there. So they are really strengthening the policy, and the fact that the president of Ghent City at Work is the alderman of work, and the vice president is the alderman of education. There's a very strong connection to each other, and then that's the more the policy thing. The other thing is more the communication. So every time there is a newsletter, before I ask to everybody, to all the organizations, and that's to, I think, 60 organizations in Ghent, if they have items they want to stress in the newsletter, or things like that. And if we make a partner day, I also ask what the team will be and things like that. So that's the way it goes. If there was, for example, a call, an ESF call, then I get questions from, can you give me partners, possible partners, and I spread it also within the network.
Okay.
Thank you. I feel like that the first practice has been quite institutionalized, so it's been it has a sound history. It traces back in 1998, so there's a long history, while the second one is quite new and has still to show how it will develop. And my second question, I will not take too much time. Do you both feel it is possible to develop a municipality or a regional policy starting from these two case studies, meaning that this will become an official instrument of the municipality of Ghent or even of the region, taking these two models, making them standard and spreading them all over the region? Will this also be accepted by your policymakers?
Yeah, if I may start. In the case of right to score, you have to see it in two aspects. Right to score is a part of the whole Meubelfabriek concept. And that's a relatively new thing in Ghent, which we are very sure the city of Ghent will adopt. There are so many places, there are places where the buildings are just empty, they're not being used, but now the social return is so high. And initially the city had said, you know what, it's just a trial project, 3 years, maximum 5, but already we are having such positive response. And informally, we have already heard that it's going to be more than just 5 years. So when we look at all this and the results that we have gained and the reaction from the city of Ghent, like Caroline said, Ghent, I was initially in an initiative in city of Antwerp. That's where we started. Football changes lives. With the same idea, with the same goals, but it is almost impossible to succeed with this kind of initiatives in Antwerp because the city has a totally different mindset. That's why we went to Ghent, and within a very short period of time, we had the location and we were already included, and we get all the support we have. So they are very supportive and they are very open to this kind of initiative. So I am very sure this is something that will be adopted, and maybe that is one of the social impact that we will have had, not only right to score, but the whole concept for the city of Ghent.
Myriam?
I admit that Ghent has a long tradition of cooperation and participation of its citizens. So I think it's one of the key things to have such a good partnership. So, but I am sure that it's possible to transport it to other cities. I have had contacts in the last year with Kortrijk, with Ostende, other cities in Flanders who are, but in fact, it's the fact, hence stad werking, the fact that it's already 20 years makes it a very established partnership, and who is changing, of course, because there are other opportunities and other things to tackle, but it's more mindset. So I follow a bit Zakayo. It's really mindset of the authority to admit that, or to be willing to be that the citizens and organizations help you make your policy, and that's I think it's more important than the structure of the partnership or things like that. It starts with a corporational mind who is in Ghent, and I think in other cities also.
I totally agree with that, Myriam. It succeeds or fails with the policymakers themselves, the mindset in the governance, the local governance. If they are pro, then it gives a lot of energy for the initiative takers. Otherwise, like in Antwerp, I'm not going to speak negatively of Antwerp also, but in most cases, you have these initiatives 1 or 2 years down the road, and they stop just because they don't get that extra boost from the governing the authorities. So that's for me a very important, that's a key requirement for success in cooperation.
So basically, if we can...
I just want to, you can see now it's also a help for the city, because now I give the example now with the relance, we sat together with the policy group of Ghent City at Work, and all the organizations are helping with little activities. Like now we have a pop-up for young people who are leaving schools because it's not easy to start your labor for a job. So we have a pop-up where they can come to ask their questions, but also little workshops. And all those workshops are done by the partners of Ghent City at Work. So it's something the city also can rely on if they want to do something. It's good to see.
Okay, so the general approach is, rather than setting a fixed and standard policy, is letting community work in cooperation with municipalities and develop the instruments which are necessary for the society.
Indeed, yeah. Are there some other questions? No? But Daniele, I don't know, because we are now already 1 hour and a half further, is there time for a little break, or how do we go?
I think we can have a quick break for everybody and then resume with this session in 15 minutes.
15.
Let's say 10 minutes.
10? Okay, 10. Let's say 10 because they will become 15.
Okay, so we start again at 10 to 12 then, Brussels time, okay?
Perfect.
Okay, see you in 10 minutes. So, first of all, I want to thank Myriam and Zakayo for their, I think, well, enthusiastic and colorful presentations. So now we go to something completely different, which is Tim Buyse, who is going to present it. He's the international expert here at the CERF, and the CERF is the Social Economic Council of Flanders, but I'm pretty sure that Tim will say much more about his own organization. And they had, I have to admit, it was an ESF project and that he's going to present. So Tim, you've got the floor.
So good afternoon also on my behalf. I'm happy to give you a brief presentation on this project. It's called Social Partners on the Digital Fast Track. Let me just do this for the participants here. It was a project that wanted to analyze and discuss the relationship between the challenges posed by digitalization and robotization on our labor market and on the economy on the one hand, and on the other hand, the role of social partners and social dialogue within this challenge. So before I give you an idea of the project, I would like to start by explaining you very briefly how social dialogue in Belgium works and how it works in Flanders. So Belgium is a federal state. It has a quite difficult state structure, and the federal government and the regional governments, they all have their own competencies. And so some domains like social security, labor law, competition policy, they are centralized on the federal level, while other domains such as environment, education, housing are the responsibility of the regions. And in fact, social dialogue reflects this. So on the federal national level, we have the National Labor Council, which deals with social issues, labor law, and we have the Central Council for the Economy, which deals with economic topics, wage costs, economic climate, competitiveness, and so on. And then, of course, on the regional level, we also have these social dialogue institutions that join labor unions and trade associations. And for Flanders, this is the CEF, so the Social and Economic Council of Flanders. Our council consists of 20 members within the 3 Flemish trade unions, so the Social, the Christian, and the Liberal Trade Union. And then on the other hand, of course, the trade associations, the employers associations, which you see there, which are Boerenbond for the agricultural side, then Verso for the social profits, VOCA is for the more of the larger firms, and then Unizo mainly for the independent or the entrepreneurs and small and medium-sized companies. So in total, in fact, these members represent about 2 million employees and job seekers in Flanders, and about 150,000 entrepreneurs, companies, and related organizations. So the topic of digitalization or digitization, so we started with analyzing the impact of digitization in 2017. And we noticed that this big challenge or this big trend has impacts on the economy, on the labor markets, on mobility, social identity, equality, governance, democracy. So it's a transformation that flows throughout the whole society and economy, and also affects the process of social dialogue. Think about new challenges such as platform workers or representation issues, involvement of civil societies, and so on. And so it requires an active role of governments, but also an active role of social partners. So this is our belief, that the role of social partners is key in this. But of course, Flanders is not the only region in which digitalization has an impact. We noticed that also other regions in Europe and countries have a similar impact. And this is the reason for us to submit a project to the European Social Fund and we were happy to see that it was accepted to be funded, of course. Thank you, Caroline, for this. With the goal of exchanging know-how, exchanging good practices and experiences between social partners and related organizations in the different countries. So we wanted to do an international comparison. What are best practices concerning lifelong learning, concerning how to future-proof the economy and the labor markets to make it ready for this digitalization, this robotization trend, and also how to make the process of social dialogue ready. And the second, I would not say secondary, but more of a, it's equally important, I think, is that we wanted to develop a network of related international social partners so that we are able to ask them how they deal with certain issues, to contact them directly, and to really have a close network that works together and that can be requested to give their view on certain issues in other countries. And so we really wanted to maintain this, for now it's an online, of course, but it's ideal also to do it offline and face-to-face, like a structural information exchange network with the partners. So the main idea or the main goal was, of course, to do this mutual learning and exchange of good practices. And so the key questions in the project were, what challenges and opportunities does digitalization offer in the various regions and countries? What policy options are being considered or have already been implemented? And how are social partners involved? How is the process of social dialogue involved in these countries? And how can social partners help the governments to tackle the challenges of digitalization? And these questions were crucial for the ESF project. And together with our international partners, we wanted to formulate a comprehensive answer to these questions and to find good practices and good policy answers. So I give you a brief timeline of our project. So we started with an opening event, and it's not something that should be considered a small thing. It was really a moment where the individual partners of the different countries could see each other for the first time, could really meet in real life, network, and to exchange views already. So it was really important to get all the partners in the same direction, to get the noses in the same direction so that they all agreed to the goal of the project and they really wanted to participate. And then we organized different roundtables and study visits. Each of these roundtables had a certain topic. So we had one concerning training and education or competences. We had one concerning the labor market, one concerning economy and innovation, and one focused on the process of social dialogue. And they were organized in each of the partnering countries. So each partner in the project took on the responsibility to organize a roundtable, a study visit, to finance also this roundtable, and to invite speakers to a bit like we do now in this dialogue project. Wouldn't it have been due to the Corona issue, of course? Something about the partnership. So a lot of partners were involved in this project. On the one hand, the CERF, of course, so the Social and Economic Council of Flanders, for which I work, was the promoter and coordinator of the project. But all members represented by or in CERF were actively engaged. So we had regular meetings with the trade unions and the Employers Association in Flanders. We discussed the project, how we should go forward. We had feedback meetings with them on let's say on a monthly basis throughout the project. And so while the CERF itself did most of the study work and making maintaining these relationships, and we did the promoting of the project, the social partners were really involved. So they participated in every meeting, they sent their experts, they wanted to get input on what was discussed on the different roundtables. So they were really engaged, and they really thought it was an interesting project. So I like to show pictures during a presentation. So to give you an idea of the atmosphere was like on the project. So this was during our first roundtable and study visit to Dresden. And you see myself in the middle, of course, but you also see a lot of our colleagues that work here at CERF and that work at the social partners, but then also, of course, the international partnership. So during every roundtable, all of the partners sent some delegates, 1, 2, 3, even 4 people that were experts on the topic, that really were engaged and actively committed to be involved in the project, to exchange views, to discuss with peers. And so it was a good thing to see that in every roundtable study visit that we organized, all of the partners were really committed to come and to give their input. So this was an added value really to the project. And the international project partners that were involved really were broad and diverse. So for instance, we had the 3 organizations that were very similar to our own organization. In France, we had a regional consultative assembly of the region, so CESER Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes, which is a social, economic, environmental council. We had ASO, the largest union in the Czech Republic, and we had also the CES in Valencia that participated, which is also an economic and social council. So really also combining the various stakeholders within their region. Then we had some more private partners. So we had partners from Germany, innovative centers, which is MITS. Then we had an educational institution, or more of a training institution that offers training and education. Also from Germany, from Dresden, and also an independent institute for more economic development, structural policy, ESV. So to really have this broad knowledge base on digitalization and on the impact and challenges posed by digitalization. And then we had also 2 partners that were more in the public sphere, linked to governments. So we had a public employment service from or project and training agency from Hanover, and then this project, this public employment service from North Rhine-Westphalia and GEB. So really organizations that dealt with labor market issues, that dealt with economic and innovation issues, really partners that were engaged within the social dialogue sphere. So really a broad range of partners that were all engaged and committed to join us on these roundtables. And so roundtables, I will go quick on this. We had various topics that were discussed, various speakers that were invited. We dealt with on-the-job learning, with, of course, digital literacy. We dealt with new business models, with cooperation models between industry and education. On the labor market, these new types of work, the platform economy, human-robot interaction, and then, of course, social dialogue itself. So the role of social dialogue on the different levels, also related to this platform work and so on. So really a broad range of issues and topics that were discussed. So to give you again some pictures, all of these roundtables started with some presentations. We also, not only from the project partners themselves, but we also had invited experts on specific topics from the country. And then we had a lot of room for exchange, for just informal networking also, but also formal exchange on policy issues. So we took a lot of pictures, as you can see, also from the study visits, which showed hands-on experience on how certain companies deal with these challenges, how they implement new ways to implement digitalization, to engage also workers in their company. So it really was an eye-opener for many of our partners. So as to the deliverables, yeah, of course, we delivered a concluding report with the main takeaways and main recommendations. But in fact, for me personally, this was of minor importance. I think the most important deliverable of this project was the network that we constructed, and that up until today is still alive. Even in this Corona period, we still we are still in touch with our peers from the other countries. We still are able to contact each other when we have specific questions on how would this country or this region deal with this kind of topic. So yeah, this was really the most important thing, I think, this exchange of information, mutual learning, and to develop this network that we can hopefully continue in the future. And then, of course, to conclude, we had some dissemination practices to also involve other stakeholders and those people, those institutions that were not actively involved in the project, but that we also wanted to include with our output. So we had some inspirational sessions, we had a closing event, we did presentations at international fora for the partners of our project partners, really to show this best practice. Our closing event is what we also did on the end of 2019. And yeah, so this was a picture of the closing event. So we had about 100 participants, both from Flanders, European policymakers, international participants. We had Flemish policymakers, of course. Yeah, which was really interesting, I think. And to give you an idea on the project, I have, I think, 5 small videos on issues within the project that were dealt with within the issues. And the final video you will see are 2 witnesses, let's say, one from a colleague of mine, which was the original promoter of the project, and one from a trade union representative who gives his opinion, his view on the project and what it achieved. So I will now just let you look at these videos. I hope everything works fine.
Goedemorgen, ik ben Thierry Burke, ik ben CEO van Bilfinger ROB. We zijn onderdeel van de internationale industriële dienstverlener Bilfinger, actief op het vlak van industrieel onderhoud en installatie van assets voor onze klanten die zich situeren in de industriële sectoren zoals oil en gas, petrochemie, chemie, farmacie, cement, energie.
Ik ben Sonja Piepaert, zaakvoerder van de Baby's Corner, een totaal concept voor mama, baby, kind en grootouder. Op 2500 vierkante meter winkelbeleving. En wij zijn steeds op zoek naar warme collecties die persoonlijkheid en kwaliteit uitstralen.
Continentaal, ik zeg continentaal, maar dat een bedrijf is van Duitse oorsprong, is een multinationale onderneming met 220.000 werknemers wereldwijd. Wij maken vooral elektronische remsystemen en systemen die de veiligheid in de wagens verhogen.
Twikit is een B2B softwarebedrijf en wij zijn actief in de markt van digital manufacturing.
Mijn naam is Segers Caroline, ik ben vakbondsafgevaardigde van het ABV Metaal te Dijken. Dat is een bedrijf die gevestigd is in Oostende reeds 40 jaar lang, die eigenlijk producent is van airco- en heatingproducten, waaronder warmtepompen.
Ik ben Bart de Kloet, verantwoordelijk voor verkoop en innovatie in Mariasteen. Dus Mariasteen is een maatwerkbedrijf. We werken met mensen met een arbeidsbeperking.
Ik werk voor het federaal secretariaat van het ABVV-BTB. En ik ben eigenlijk gespecialiseerd in alles wat te maken heeft rond de fietscouriers en digitalisering van de vervoersmodussen.
Maar digitalisering heeft zeer zeker een invloed op onze activiteiten en is zelfs zeer belangrijk voor onze activiteiten. Op 2 vlakken. Enerzijds ter ondersteuning van onze core business, welke industriële dienstverlening is. Maar ook als basis voor ontwikkeling van nieuwe producten.
Voor ons is digitalisering zeer belangrijk. We maken van sommige onderdelen meer dan 100 miljoen stuks per jaar. En wij maken van elk stuk een digitale footprint, die ook allemaal in databases opgeslagen wordt. En voor ons is die digitale behandeling van de gegevens essentieel om onze kwaliteit en onze efficiëntie te waarborgen.
In 1996, toen ik gestart ben, had ik 2 verkoopskanalen. Ik had de telefoon en ik had de fysieke winkel. In 2000, begin 2000 zijn we begonnen met een eerste online etalage. Dat stelde nog niet veel voor, maar we waren wel voorloper om de geboortelijst al online te laten verkopen.
We hebben klanten in diverse sectoren, dus een van de belangrijkste is de bouwindustrie, waarvoor we onderdelen maken voor ramen en deuren, voor verlichtingsindustrie of voor balustrades, maar evengoed de machinebouw, de textielmachines of landbouwmachines.
En de werkvloer is niet meer de werkvloer die we kennen van vroeger in een bedrijf, maar een werkvloer die zich verspreidt op het terrein, in de straten. En met fietscouriers is dat zeker, moet je heel sportief zijn om als vakbondsman daar werk van te willen maken.
Wij hebben het bedrijf opgericht met een aantal medestichters, met 3 om concreet te zijn. Ikzelf had een achtergrond in de 3D-printingwereld, dus ik had voordien met Materialize gewerkt. En eigenlijk vanuit die ideeën zijn we gaan nadenken, gaan brainstormen van wat zou nu de volgende stap kunnen zijn of wat ontbreekt er vandaag in de markt om de kracht van 3D-printen, en dat gaat vaak over personalisatie en unieke producten, om dat mogelijk te maken voor meer bedrijven.
Wij hebben eigenlijk 3 verkoopskanalen op dit moment. We hebben de geboortelijst waar erop gekocht wordt. We hebben directe verkoop die in de fysieke winkel gebeurt, maar ook online op de webshop.
Een voorbeeld van een ondersteuning voor onze eigen activiteiten is bijvoorbeeld alles wat bestaat rond 3D-technologie en virtuele realiteit. Wat wij gebruiken om bijvoorbeeld industriële assets via een laserscanning techniek te digitaliseren.
Binnen ons bedrijf is het in feite digitalisering die toegepast wordt op processen die eigenlijk niet echt een meerwaarde bieden voor onze werknemers op de werkvloer en waardoor dat de monotoom eigenlijk wordt weggewerkt.
We hebben sinds een 3-tal jaar hebben we een Amerikaans softwarepakket in huis en gebruiken we dat op de werkvloer. En dat zorgt voor een cognitieve ondersteuning van onze medewerkers. Het is een soort van beeldprojectiesysteem die net als een gewone beamer werkinstructies projecteert op het werkveld van onze operatoren. En dat is interactief. Dat betekent dat als iemand een foutje begaat of iemand moet bijgestuurd worden, krijgt hij onmiddellijk feedback van het systeem.
Bij ons in de productievestiging zijn het allemaal bijna ongeschoolde arbeiders. Als er een digitalisering wordt toegepast, heeft het meer te maken dat de jobinhoud van een werknemer anders wordt ingedeeld.
We zijn natuurlijk een jong bedrijf, we zijn een scale-up. Dus al onze interne processen die zijn naadloos gedigitaliseerd. Ik heb het dan over de administratieve flows, maar ook over de verkoopsflows. En dat is super belangrijk om een bedrijfje van ons formaat, om dat schaalbaar te krijgen wereldwijd.
Veel mensen denken van de vakbond die is tegen digitalisering en automatisering. En we kijken daar wel met argusogen naartoe, maar wij zijn daar zeker niet tegen. Waar we wel tegen zijn, is dat we als vakbonden als de zijkant zouden moeten blijven staan in die nieuwe arbeidsomstandigheden. Wij willen mee aan tafel gaan en duidelijke regels maken die eigenlijk bescherming bieden naar die digitale werkers of die nieuwe automatiseringen.
Uit het onderzoek dat wij al gedaan hebben, waarin we heel veel vakbonden en ook werkgeversorganisaties geconsulteerd hebben, blijkt eigenlijk dat in België zowel de werkgevers als de werknemersvertegenwoordigers zich heel bewust zijn van digitalisering en daar absoluut niet tegen zijn, maar integendeel het zien als een kans.
Ik stap op de fiets en ik ga naast die fietscouriers gaan rijden, of het nu een Deliveroo is of een Uber Eats is, maar ook een cargo-veloman of vrouw. En ik ga daarnaast gaan fietsen en wij doen een klein gesprekje. Op die manier kun je als vakbond de vinger aan de pols houden en weten welke de problemen zijn. Dan kan je to the point gaan onderhandelen.
De vakbonden zijn inderdaad actief in Mariasteen, dus wij hebben daar een zeer goede verstandhouding bij. Dus als het over innovatie en digitalisering gaat, betrekken wij hen daarin.
Als het gaat over platformwerk, denk ik dat we zeker voorzichtig moeten zijn, omdat natuurlijk het ene platform het andere niet is. Maar we werken wel op, vooral de grotere en de internationale platformen, dat zij eigenlijk toch wel op de marges of op de rand van de wetgeving zich bewegen. En dat we zien bijvoorbeeld ook dat Zo'n Deliveroo en Uber in België volgen heel andere regels dan in Nederland, dan in Duitsland, dan in andere landen.
Als je de Deliveroo's hebt van deze wereld, die zijn super arrogant en daar kunnen we eigenlijk heel moeilijk mee onderhandelen. Maar we geven dat niet op, we blijven daarvoor vechten. Er zijn anderen, de Uber Eats bijvoorbeeld, daar hebben wij problemen aangekaart, zijn we ontvangen geweest. En kunnen we toch wel stellen dat we daar op een goed niveau zitten van overleg.
Als we nu merken in onze arbeidsmarkt dat we nieuwe vormen van werk krijgen die heel flexibel zijn, met heel korte of zelfs geen contracten, met misschien grote vraagtekens over werkomstandigheden en sociale bescherming, hoe gaan we daar eigenlijk als overheid, als maatschappij, als sociale partners, hoe gaan we daarmee om?
We worden gewaar dat die nieuwe bedrijven proberen om de verworven rechten terug te draaien. We zitten met een overheid die daar natuurlijk volop in meespeelt. Die gaat voor die buitenlandse bedrijven. En dat maakt het toch wel moeilijk. Als je moet onderhandelen, of als je de kans krijgt om te onderhandelen, dan worden je voorstellen direct van tafel geveegd, ook niet bekeken. Dus je moet naar een andere manier gaan van werken en die leidt dikwijls tot confrontaties en conflicten.
We started this ESF transnational project out of curiosity. At the moment when we were formulating the call, we were busy with a big event and a big project on digitalization and the Flemish social partners. So we were curious about how other social partners in the EU member states were coping with this big society and economic social challenge of the digitalization and the robotization. After this project, I have two main observations I want to make. They are kind of personal, but they are my two main observations. The first one is about the tripartism in the social dialogue. And the fact is that when dialogue and when partnerships are really institutionalized, when there is an institution behind the partnerships, that it's more easier to have dialogue. So that's also the reason why we got very quickly connected with the other social economic councils of the regions, the region of Valencia in Spain and the region of Rhône-Alpes in France. And also in this project we could notice that the bipartism was very okay. So in all our different partners and in our different country seminars and workshops, we could notice that good relations between the HR departments of the enterprises and the trade unions. I want to conclude my observation with the follow-up. I think it's important that this kind of ESF transnational projects merit a follow-up, a good follow-up. So, and I think that is basically or mainly principally the responsibility of the leading partner that started up the project.
Frisse inzichten, verhelderende studies. De trip doorheen Europa heeft ons heel wat bijgebracht. We denken daarbij als ABVV aan de sluipende genderongelijkheid die zich in Europa nestelt. In de cockpits van de IT-sector, waar de nieuwe generatie van digitale architecten sturing geeft aan innovatie op onze arbeidsmarkt. We zijn overtuigd en nog meer overtuigd geworden dat digitalisering, naast bedreigingen die inherent zijn aan innovatie, er ook heel wat win-wins zijn. Win-wins voor werkgevers en werknemers. Want beiden krijgen de mogelijkheid productiever te worden, werkbaarheid van de jobs te verhogen door digitalisering. Het geloof en de kracht dat sociaal overleg een noodzakelijk en cruciale factor is om de verbinding en de toekomst met perspectief voor allen te kunnen waarmaken. Met dit ESF-project leren we dat het sociaal overleg de aard van de sociale gevolgen op tafel kan leggen en bespreekbaar maken. Want digitalisering heeft wel degelijk een ernstige impact op de arbeidsmarkt, op de arbeidsorganisatie, op de kwaliteit van het werk, op de manier waarop mens en machine elkaar kunnen verstoten of versterken. Bij de invoering van nieuwe technologieën is en blijft de menselijke factor primordiaal. Het uitgangspunt moet zijn dat nieuwe technologie, ingezet zowel dat het ten goede komt van bedrijven als werknemers. En dat de betrokkenheid verbeterd wordt. Digitalisering om complementariteit van de kwaliteit van het werk te verbeteren en negatieve gevolgen van de digitalisering op te vangen. Dus daarom moeten we pleiten voor meer en beter collectief overleg, zodanig dat digitalisering doorheen Europa een goede win-win zaak wordt voor iedereen.
So this was about my my presentation and the videos I wanted to show you. I put my contact details on the slide here in case you would have further questions, but I will also be happy to answer them if you would have any of them right now.
Okay. Does everybody hear me too? Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Tim, for this is another kind of partnership. So, but it was for us as ESF also quite good that we had a project of the Social Economic Council of Flanders, because it's not that often that all the trade unions and all the employers' organizations together are working on one project. So which is good for the partnership in Flanders, but it also gave us the opportunity that the social dialogue or that what you've done in your project, that you could improve the social dialogue in the enterprises as well. So it was with a double goal, I could say, in your project. But are there some questions for Tim? No doubtly there are some. Or not. Everything was crystal clear, Tim, so...
I'm amazed.
No, okay, so then we come to our final good practice, which is also one of the trade unions. Maresa La Roux is going to present it, and it's about using a tool, a sister tool, in enterprises as well to work on the SDGs. So Maresa, you've got the floor.
Thank you very much, Caroline, and thank you very much everybody for giving us the opportunity to present our good practice. My name is Maresa La Roux. I'm responsible for the international department at my union. I'm going to give a small introduction to us. We are the Liberal Trade Union of Belgium. We represent 300,000 workers from different sectors. We are one of the 3 recognized trade unions in Belgium. I'm very happy that Tim presented in his PowerPoint the landscape of the social dialogue and the social partners, so I don't have to go into that one. We are also a member of a number of international institutions, especially the areas which we find very important is the work of the International Labour Organization on the Decent Work Agenda, and of course the Agenda 2030 of the United Nations. As a social partner, of course, the building stone for us is defending workers' rights, but then through strong and effective social dialogue. And I'm very happy that this morning I heard Mr. Vervloet explaining that in Belgium and in Flanders, the role of the social partners are very important and are key in all the labor-related discussions. So I can confirm what he said this morning is indeed very valid for us. So I'm pleased that I can tell you a little bit on why is it important that trade unions are involved and pay attention to the Sustainable Development Goals. First of all, it stemmed from our international campaign. We have a campaign called It's Time for 8, SDG 8 on the decent work. And from there on, my union joined this campaign and we started to look into what is important for us at the union concerning our role in the SDGs. And what did we note? We have seen that many companies are using the SDGs in their yearly sustainability reports or their year reports, but our trade union members or our representation in the companies were not always aware where this comes from. And also our union members or representatives do not always even know what is this Agenda 2030, what is it about. So after we've noticed these elements, we have joined the campaign and we started actively to promote the Sustainable Development Goals as something that trade unions should be involved in. Next slide, maybe. And what did we do to help this? We saw that we, as a trade union, because we had to do some self-reflection, did not have a methodology around the working. How can we now introduce something very interesting for our trade union members and our representation in the company level to start working around the Sustainable Development Goals? And we started a pilot project on the SISTA tool, which I will talk about a little bit later. Very important for us, we need to represent this as a win-win. So it should be a win-win for the employer, but it should be a win-win for the employee. And through our working, we were fortunate enough to also receive ESF funding through the Flemish Department of Corporate Social Responsibility to roll out this tool in a broader way, because the pilot project we funded ourselves for 6 companies to see how that will work out. And then we got good results out of that. We also started with awareness raising and a series of trainings, because what is the important thing for us? It is that we can use this tool in official structures, so the company councils or the committees for health and safety, so that we can give ideas and inspiration to our trade union representatives to do work along these lines. So what is the SISTA tool all about? It was developed by the University of Antwerp, so we had to make a partnership with the learning institutions of the University of Antwerp to know what the tool is about. And it was in cooperation with the Flemish government. And it's very interesting. It is an online open source tool, so it is for free for everybody to use. You can adapt it a little bit on the different themes. It exists out of these 15 themes, and the 15 themes all speak about sustainability issues within a company context. And this tool allows you to scan your company to see how well is it doing concerning sustainability elements. So for us, this was the very interesting thing. And of course, a number of themes immediately jumped out for us as a trade union, where we say, there we can really zoom in on, and we can stimulate our members and our trade union representatives to work around these themes. Another value added from the tool for us was the fact that all the themes were linked to the 17 SDGs. So that was very interesting for us. And behind each theme, you have a catalog of different actions. So hundreds of actions we could have presented to our members or trade union representatives to say, this is ideas for you if you want to work around one of the themes were health and safety and stress at work. You can work around these kinds of actions that you can do within your company. Doesn't matter how small, how big, it's an idea that you can use. What did we also see in practice? We had in our pilot project 3 companies that really worked around these themes and the SISTA tool. And for example, in a retail company in Belgium, we have done actions around mobility plans, better initiatives for the employees, health and safety, for example, how to reintroduce workers that has been for a long time absent on the work floor. On the mobility, mainly a good balance between using normal transportation and public transportation. A lot of companies have invested and started up activities on the demand from the trade unions around e-bikes and bike leasing plans, around health and safety, protective material for the workers. So this was a number of concrete actions that we could presented and some of them have been started up via the social dialogue in the company council or in the committee for health and safety. After the project, we also developed a brochure. This is now in Dutch, but it was a brochure with all the SDGs that was important and linked to the themes for our trade union representatives. We have given them inspiration with small actions that they can try to introduce in their own company context. And then the conclusions and lessons learned for us is that when we had the number of trainings, we trained 250 trade union representatives. And from them, we have noted that 160 companies are using or are saying we are doing actions around sustainability. The three main issues that came out for us as a trade union where we would like our trade union representatives doing actions around, or they told us is important for them to do actions around, is on the environmental, the health and safety, and mobility. And those three sustainability actions were especially linked to 6 SDGs, so they could also immediately look at their company's sustainability reports, see what was indicated in the report, and see, okay, my company is saying we are working around SDG 12. Are we now really also doing things that is a win-win for both employee and employer? I talk about the scan function that was very interesting, the awareness raising, and an interesting fact that we've learned is also for larger companies, the role of the European Works Council, because many of these reports are being made up at a more higher level. And then our representatives told us that the function of the European Works Council is very important. And a small concluding note is one of the spin-offs of this project was that we also presented what we have learned to our European Trade Union Confederation, and through their training institute, we were able to present this tool and how it works and the link to the SDGs to a number of trade unions, and you see the list there from European trade unions. And it was very interesting to hear that they are also saying that they are also battling with the fact that their members are not always aware of the SDGs, and it is difficult to link it on a company level. But with such a kind of tool, you can like really present something to your members or your delegates, and they can do their own action in their own company within their own context. So for us, that was a very interesting thing to learn and also to share with other trade unions in the European context. And then we have a small video as a testimony.
Als liberale vakbond hebben we gemerkt dat steeds meer en meer bedrijven een beroep doen op de SDG's in hun jaar- en duurzaamheidsrapporten. Langs de andere kant hebben wij ook vastgesteld dat de werknemers eigenlijk niet betrokken werden bij de dialoog over het feit dat die werkgevers een beroep doen op die SDG's. Zij zeggen wel dat zij aan die SDG's voldoen, maar ervaren de werknemers dat ook zo? Bovendien is het voor de syndicaal afgevaardigden ook moeilijk om het thema duurzaamheid op de agenda van het sociaal overleg te plaatsen. Daarom hebben wij in 2018 een methode ontwikkeld om onze syndicaal afgevaardigden te helpen om het thema duurzaamheid op de agenda van het sociaal overleg te plaatsen. Hoe doen we dat nu? We hebben via vormingen onze deelnemers begeleid en geleerd hoe ze een scan kunnen maken van hun bedrijf rond duurzaamheid. Afhankelijk van het resultaat van die scan kunnen ze dan naar de werkgever stappen en zeggen van kijk, op deze aspecten zijn er nog verbeteringen mogelijk, kunnen we daar rond niets doen. Belangrijk is wel dat het een win-win is, zowel voor de werkgevers als de werknemers. We willen een positieve dialoog brengen, zodanig dat er samengewerkt kan worden aan oplossingen op aspecten rond duurzaamheid. Via de SUSTA-tool hebben wij in samenwerking met de Universiteit van Antwerpen specifiek voor ons als werknemersorganisatie een specifieke methode ontwikkeld om de werknemers te helpen en te begeleiden om concrete acties op de werkvloer te realiseren. Nu hebben ze een online tool in handen waarmee dat ze naar de werkgever kunnen stappen om in dialoog te treden. Belangrijk is dat ze niet enkel acties kunnen starten, maar ook kunnen monitoren wat er nog dient te gebeuren om de actie tot een goed resultaat te brengen. Dat is alvast een succes.
Okay. Thank you, Maresa. So this is again something different. A trade union that's using a tool to also to introduce the social dialogue in enterprises, but also to make sure that the employees of the organization are also involved in the bigger discussion on the sustainable development goals. Okay. Some questions?
I received here a question in the chat box, maybe meant for you. So the project is really interesting. I think it refers to the last one presented by Maresa. The question is about the criteria through which the objectives of the 2030 agenda, how they have been selected, how, and if there are any instruments in the SUSTA tool also for other objectives which has not been inserted in the 2030 agenda.
Yes, thank you very much for that question. So we selected the SDGs that is more related to labor-related work. So what is important for our trade union representatives on the company floor? And then, of course, immediately SDG 3 around health and safety, SDG 8 concerning decent work, SDG 11 working with cities and mobility for our members to be able to travel in a safe and well manner to their jobs. So these SDGs for us was really selected on the basis of labor-related priority items. The SISTA tool is very open, so it covers 15 themes and the 17 SDGs. So another type of organization can perfectly look at the tool and say, oh no, I would like to rather work around gender issues, which was also for us important, but it didn't, we stuck to the main ones. And you can then say, I want to do a scan on my company on how is it sitting with the gender issues. So you can really use it in a broad manner.
Thank you.
Are there other questions? No. There are no other questions anymore, also not in the chat box, Daniele, no? Okay, then I think that...
Just a short comment by Luciano saying that all of the presented experiences are all really interesting, and he thanks you.
Okay, well, thank you, Luciano, for this compliment. And I think that from our side, we also were happy to share our good practice with you. And I want to thank all the ones who presented something. And I also want to thank the host, Sarah, for hosting the Zoom meeting on our side. So I think, Daniele, that we are very, very punctual, and that I now... Yeah. So I hand it over to you because now Germany wants to present a little bit their peer review.
Yes, now is the turn of our German partner. Sissi will take the floor, and I invite all project partners to have a further look at the best practices presented by the Flanders region. Dialogue with your stakeholders, work on the case studies, and if needed, get back to the colleagues with question or ask for further information. And before leaving the floor to Sissi, for project partners, we will meet in 2 weeks' time. I will send you an agenda with a steering committee and a project management team, talking about how the project Dialog project will move on and evolve from this stage, imposed stage by coronavirus situation. Sissi, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Okay, perfect. First of all, yeah, I want to thank the Flemish partners because those presentations were really interesting, and I think we can all learn a lot from it. And hopefully, we will be able to do an also very interesting meeting on our side. So we are the Lower Saxon Ministry of Federal and European Affairs and Regional Development. And that's the reason why the case studies that we have, we chose to present are a little bit particular, because we have, as a managing authority, especially the role of coordinating European funds and to have all the different participation processes in order to create these different programs. And that is why we decided to look at our very own processes a little bit more deeply. And we did, for the upcoming funding period, we did search for new approaches of participation. And in order to create the operational program, that is also one of our case studies, we developed a very comprehensive and broad funding strategy, a European funding strategy, in order to address the problem of, well, in 2019, we thought we would have a little less funding, monetary funding for the different programs, knowing that Brexit was about to happen and that there were new priorities of the European Union. And so we decided to do this very comprehensive strategy that includes all the different fundings from ERDF to ESF and also to the EAFRD, so the European Agricultural Fund for Rural Development. And this strategy, we took a very interesting approach to include different partners and to work on this strategy together. So this is our first case study that we want to present, and in the same manner we also went, constructed or developed our risk strategy, so our innovation strategy, where we used very innovative and new approaches when it comes to letting different stakeholders participate in the process. So this is going to be our second strategy. And right now, bringing all together into the operational program, we are already trying to use the lessons learned from these different strategies and adapt them when designing our operational program and when including all the different stakeholders when it comes to designing the operational program, which is going to be an add-on to our case studies. And then we do have our own policy instrument, an ESF policy instrument about social innovation that we are going to present, which is very interesting when you look at the way it is being constructed and funded. That is a very easy way for different organizations or individuals to apply for this funding. So we really created through different institutions a very low threshold to engage or to apply for funding, which is going to be interesting for our third or fourth case study. And yeah, then there is another case study that we are still discussing over from the Ministry of Environment, which creates a new policy instrument for resource efficiency, which is interesting because in the last funding period, the same instrument had some problems when it comes to monetary flow and people applying for funding, and they adapted the policy instrument largely and tried to include other people and other stakeholders in order to create a funding instrument that is more adapted to the needs of the people. So that is probably going to be our last case study. Yeah, so that's about it, and we will see probably in November, because well, we didn't really agree on a date yet, but we decided to do our peer meeting in November, since we do have a lot of upcoming events which do not allow for us to organize something in October. And I don't know, Daniela, probably you're going to say something also about the possibility to have interpreters and dolmetschers added to the peer meetings, because we have seen that there are some problems involving all of our stakeholders. So we try to to have our own interpreters in our meetings, so that everybody can join and we can get into a broader discussion. And I think, the project is inviting everyone to do the same, so that we can all have a very good exchange process for the next peer meetings. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, as Sissy was mentioning, we will discuss about technical issues and the possibility to implement Zoom with further interpreters and further languages translation, direct translation for the next peer reviews, which seem to be and will be most likely online via Zoom platform. But I would like to discuss this in the project meeting, because it's not really relevant for the participants right now. Yes, I think we can close this third peer review. I invite you to work with your stakeholders on the practices and get back to the colleagues when needed. And when needed, write us, call us, and we'll try to sort every kind of problem if possible, and if in our powers, of course. Thank you for attending, and I'll let you know soon about the next event and the prosecution of the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi everyone.
Bye.
You have a nice day.
Thank you.